What's up, everybody? It's your boy Cool Ty coming right at you. We have a wonderful special guest today, Mr. Drew Moss, who is a great artist. I did not know a great deal about his career. I happened to start reading his book with an seeing his work with an IDW book, and then when I actually transferred or moved from the West Coast to the East Coast, I happened to end up moving near him. And so we just started talking. I started seeing him at conventions, started getting more books. Really big fan of his artwork. So we're going to learn a little bit more about, for me, and hopefully for you guys out there, about Mr. Drew Moss, comic book creator. Always, please remember, like, share, subscribe. Mr. Moss, thank you very much for coming on to the show. How are you feeling today?
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good.
All right.
Um,
How was your day today? Everything is cool, laid back, and easy, smooth Sunday?
yeah, everything was pretty cool. I think I told you I had a Buddhist meeting,
Right?
uh, and that went really well. So yeah, I had some food, um, did our thing, and yeah, I actually got back a little earlier than I thought. So
Okay. So is this like a just a gathering, or is this a like a official meeting, or what happens
oh
at the
yeah, it's a district meeting. So like I'm in the Southampton district in Virginia, Hampton, Virginia. So it's generally people from the Southampton area
hmm
and guests and new people who just want to learn about what we're doing,
Okay.
which is it's always nice to have guests there.
Right.
Dispel some myths, and also just I don't know, have a good time. It's nice
Yeah.
to meet people.
Listen, in today's culture, it is absolutely positive and imperative to completely have honest conversations and dispel absolutely sometimes asinine myths that people have out there about certain beliefs and cultures and
Yeah,
things such as that. So, yeah, I would agree. It probably was a wonderful idea to have the guests there, so the truth can always shine on through.
yeah, and plus it just makes people more comfortable with
hmm
different ways of thinking.
Right,
Um, not to I never there's no right way, not in my head.
right.
It's only different because we all have the same goal. You know, from Muslim to Jewish to China to the Christians to the Buddhists to the Hindus. We all just want peace, right? We
That
want people
is
love.
so absolutely true in my belief, right? So I am Muslim. And
Yeah,
I agree wholeheartely. There is no right way. There is simply different ways. When I was in college, my degree was in television and film production, right? So mass communications, and I used to kind of have like this show, kind of like Man on the Street, but I would kind of focus it on different topics, and I focused it on religion at one point. So I had a one of my professors at Morris Brown College, which you see here, Morris Brown College, Atlanta. He took us around to all of the different temples, mosques, synagogues, churches, and I interviewed a bunch of different people, and one of the things that I got from them was there is no right way, right? There is no my way is better. There is a And I'll tell you exactly a really cool way that it was explained to me when I was really young. I might have been 20, 21 at the time. um I had I think it was a minister, priest, kind of explain it to me as shoes, right? Some people like a sneaker and they would wear the sneaker all the time, and some people love the cowboy boot, and some people like the penny loafer.
yeah,
These are the things that fit best for you, that fit you perfectly, and that fit you. But in the end, they're all shoes to kind of get us to the exact same place, which is everybody really does just want peace, and that's actually perfect. So now I love even more, man. I appreciate that. I can't.
I mean, like the organization that I guess I'm a part of, um, that they strive for that. You know, like working with other religions to bridge that gap. You know,
Right,
because we all have the ultimate goal. We want world peace and we want to end
right.
suffering. Like that's you can't argue with that. Like it's we don't want anybody to get hurt. And then we want everybody to have their own solace, what makes
Yes.
them, uh, you don't have to believe what I believe to be happy. Like, and it's totally fine because that's the way the world works.
My
Um,
man. So
Even
true.
with
So
religion,
true.
we also think of things differently, and that's okay. Like, there's a mystic side, and then there's a logic side, and I tend to go towards more logic, um, that's not my place to tell somebody else to think like I do. As long as you're not hurting anybody and you're actually taking action and helping other people and being kind, that's all I want.
That is so true, man. I communicate with people a lot about different religions and Islam, and people love to say, "Oh, Islam is it's a violent religion."
Oh
No, it's
no.
not at all. It's to the contrary. It's not a violent religion. It does not degrade or beat down
No.
women. And I have to remind people there is a major difference when you see the news and you watch, newscasts and broadcasts about Muslim countries. You're not always seeing the religion. You're seeing a
No.
culture of what man has put on the people that they're in control of. And so when you see certain things,
Yeah.
it's important to try to figure out what the history is and what the actual thing is, and separate that from what the actual religion is, right? So, one easy thing is people talk about religion, and I say, well, Islam teaches people to be modest, men and women, right? So where a woman would cover her hair to be modest and cover her body, from head to toe, not, only her eyes and the slit of her eyes can be shown. That's not the religion at all. But men too are told to cover. They have a kufi on their head, and they're to always cover their eyes to keep them modest. But when you see such heinous acts and it looks like, well, that's what everybody's doing. No,
Yeah.
that's the thing that you're seeing that's what you're seeing from that
Yeah.
broadcast, and that's what you're seeing from the things that keep coming towards you and being bombarded with throughout, whether it's the media, social media, TV, whatever movies, whatever it is. That's not the way it really
Yeah.
is. And I
Well,
I
every
I
Muslim.
challenge people quite a bit. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Every Muslim I've ever met has been the kindest and nicest person.
Yeah.
Like, my experience with that religion is not a negative thing.
Yeah.
Uh, but I agree. You're shown what people want you to see, and it's usually the extremists. It's a squeaky wheel, right? It's
Yeah, that's right.
and the people who are propagating peace. That's not news.
Yeah.
That's news. That's not, people don't sell peace.
Right.
Like,
That's right. And listen, we are dealing with this horrible act by Hamas and
yeah,
Hezbollah on Israel. And it's extremely important for me to say those words. It is Hamas and Hezbollah who are attacking the Israeli people.
yeah,
It is Israel who is occupying uh, uh, Palestine and
yeah,
that strip. So it's very clear, and it's very important that I use the correct words, because I don't want to bandwagon what the news is showing, because
yeah,
that's not what it is, right? It's terrorist people within Palestine creating terrorist acts. It is
yeah.
not the Palestinian people, and it is not the everyday people walking around trying to live their life.
No,
It
and
is
that's why
people,
Palestine got involved.
right? The 95+% of the people who have been killed, or their homes have been bombed, or the schools, it's the majority of those people have nothing to do with it,
Yeah,
but they
yeah,
are living in an occupied state, and their land is being taken from them, and that creates a narrative that created the narrative of where we are today. And I think
that,
once we get to that nitty gritty, we can really get down to the crux of this whole piece.
that stuff hurts my heart. Like,
It does, man. It really
for
does hurt my heart.
both sides, it's horrifying,
Yeah,
and
I
I
have
don't
to.
even relate to it because I've never lived like that.
Yeah,
That war's been going on for thousands of years,
yeah,
and like, I don't believe in death of anybody.
right.
But like, yeah, every time I see parts of the news or from both sides, I see the BBC stuff, our stuff, like the
Yeah,
different countries covered, it all hurts my heart. I
Yeah,
can't. It breaks it. It breaks me every time. And
yeah.
those kids that bring,
I
oh,
completely agree. I think it's, to be at the Jewish youth who were at the concert, and for
oh
those Jewish
God,
youth to have been senselessly murdered.
yes,
Those terrorists will never make it to heaven. They are terrorists. That's exactly what they are.
indeed,
To see the children, to see the people who are the Israelis who are trying to hide and they're still being targeted, to see the hospitals and the schools and the communities that Israel is bombing over and over, and it's demolishing their entire way of life. It is heartbreaking. It
it
is
is
it is
horrible.
so heartbreaking. But I would like to say, you know, may God, those of you that believe in God who are listening to the podcast, and that if you do not believe in God, I'm perfectly okay with that. America is a country that allows you to have whatever belief you want, as long as that belief does not hurt physically or hurt anyone.
Yeah,
I hope for those of you that believe in God that, God, you will pray and you will be an activist for the truth, and you will help make enough noise to get this ceasefire to stop. And those of you who do not believe in God, I respect you as well. May the atoms and the molecules within our atmosphere align correctly to
yeah,
get the spinning of the earth to create some type of magnetic field to stop all of this. And however you choose to go about and voicing your opinion about what's going on, just remember we want to make sure we get the truth out there. And the truth is, it is not the Palestinian people that are the terrorists, and it is the terrorists, the Hamases, the Hezbollah. It is not the Palestinian people who are the terrorists, but it is the Palestinian people who are paying some of the steepest consequences for these horrible, heinous acts.
all
Um,
the suffering is just senseless.
it's all it's all very much so senseless. So we're gonna flip this over to some comics on that note. And that was a very good opening. I'm not listen, I have to, one of the things that I remind myself is that these interviews can kind of go whichever way they feel they should go, right? That's part of the atmosphere of having these interviews, and the path of the interviews. And that's just kind of one of the things that it can. So if this first opening to the people out there listening, liking, sharing, and subscribing to my channel, please drop some comments. Let us know how you feel. And who knows, maybe a really good story could come out of this. I'm in my head, I'm thinking of some stories that I've read that had to deal with these particular things, and maybe that might be a show that I could do later on. But let's get on to Mr. Drew Moss's career. So I was living in California, and James O'Bear came to a, you know where I'm going, right? James O'Bear came to a convention. Actually, he had come to a convention many times before,
Yeah.
but didn't have any of the original series of The Crow at the time. So I happened to be looking through what's Scott's comics? I can't think of it. He's gonna kill me. Scott Hudlow, California. You have the name of your shop is missing. But anyway, I ended up looking for some Crows for some James O'Bear books to get signed. And what I came across is, bam, look at that.
Excellence, yes.
I came across The Crow, Pestilence, and I was asking myself, who in the world is this Drew Moss guy?
Yeah. Who is he?
I think this was my first soiree into your artwork, to your layouts, your pencils. I thought it was done really well. I liked a lot of the panels. So how did you get this book, and how did you kind of start your career in comics?
To be honest, I think that was the third miniseries or fourth miniseries I worked on. Third. My first miniseries, like I had done little one shots or fill-ins here and there since 2003.
Okay.
first comic I did was a comic called Sidekick and Hero for Viper Comics.
Okay.
Courtney Huddleston. He worked for Penny Farthing. That guy was amazing. I really enjoyed his company and his attitude. He was very
Hmm.
positive. Um, and then I want to say 7 years passed. Like just I was working full time IT, doing comic books on the side, and I was in my office, and I worked for the second largest psychiatric company in the country. So
Okay.
I dealt with psych wards and business offices, whatever, all over the country. But I was in my office and I got a message on my Yahoo Messenger, right? I know people, I don't think people use that anymore. I don't.
Oh
But
man, listen, Yahoo Messenger was the bomb.
yeah, everybody was on. I could talk to people all day long.
All day long. Man, you could put people's phone number in and text their phone from Yahoo. Listen, Yahoo Messenger was everything.
Yeah, well, and at the time, like that was like my connection to everybody in comics was Yahoo Messenger
Yeah.
or, or GChat. Um,
Yeah, man, I haven't heard that in so long.
yeah. So I'm working and I get a message pop up on my screen, bloop, and it's my friend Mike Exner. He goes, "How much would you pay to have the editor in chief of IDW look at your portfolio?" And at the time, I was like, "Man, nothing. I'm broke. I wouldn't pay anything." He's like, "Well, you paid $100. I did it for you." And I was like, "Wow, okay." So 8 months pass. I don't hear anything. I forgot about it. My wife was having a baby, right? So it's the smallest thing on my mind. Like
Right,
I
right.
wasn't even thinking about it. I get an email all of a sudden. It's a group email, and it's Chris Ryle. He was the editor in chief of IDW at the time, and he's sending a group email. He said, "I'm on my way to Chile. If you could all send me your portfolios, I'll review them on the train. I mean, on the plane, because I'm not going to have internet, but I'll be able to look at these if you send them now. It'll help me pass the time." Um, and I was having a baby, so I emailed him almost immediately. I was like, "Hey, don't worry about me. I'm having a baby, and I'm sure you being the editor in chief, you have a lot of other stuff you could be doing. So
Right.
don't worry about me." And then he emailed me back immediately, and he said, "Who are you?" And then I was like, he's like, "Send me your stuff right now." Um, so I did, and he was like, "Man, I like your stuff. Would you do a pinup for a book I'm doing?" And I said yes, and I did it in 2 hours.
Okay. What was the pinup?
It was it's Alien. What was? Oh God, Chris is gonna kill me. What was his name? And he God, I have another story with that alien. Me and Chris, like that was a budding friendship. Like
Got it.
this,
Got it.
um, what was the name of that comic? It was only a pinup in the back of it, but I did it in 2 hours, and he was like, "Wow, you're fast." Um, so he was like, "Do you want to do a story with me with Image? It's the first thing I've done that isn't IDW. Um, but do you want to do it together?" It was a Western anthology, and I was like, "Sure," and I did it. Um, a few months passed, and Cullen Bunn. I don't know if you know who he is.
I
Cullen
do. Of
Bunn,
course I do. Yeah.
yeah, Cullen Bunn emails me because I had done a thing for his book Crooked Hills, just a small 5-page story. And Cullen was like, "Hey man, do you want to do a mini series with me?" And I was like, "Yeah, I would love to do a mini series with you." And I did, and he offered Oni. They offered me Terrible Lizard. Cullen and I did that together. But before that, I decided I'd email Chris, and I'd said, "Chris, man, I just got an offer for a mini series. If it wasn't for you, I don't think like you started my career essentially."
Right, right, right.
Chris was like, "Oh man, I'm on vacation, but that sucks." I was like, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, I was gonna offer you a mini series too." And I was like, "Well, I'll do it. I'll do both. Like whatever." So I did the Colonize, which is coming. They're releasing. Uh, Chris just emailed me. They're releasing. It'll be in this previews. They're re-releasing the whole series as one bookshelf format comic
And
in
what is it called?
The Colonized. We had covers by John Byrne. Uh, what's his name? The guy who did Cerebus. Dave Sims. I'm
Dave
sorry,
Sim?
to me too. Uh, who else did covers? So many people did. Gabriel Rodriguez did a cover. Um, Zach Howard did a cover. The John Byrne one was cool. But anyway, I got both those series going, and I went to Disney World on vacation, and I got an offer for The Crow, Pestilence. And I was like, man, I don't know if I can do 3 books at once, like, and a full time job. And my wife was just like, well, then quit. Like, you've been doing comic books for 10 years. You've missed birthdays. You've missed family events. You even missed movies. Like, we go see movies and you stay home and draw. What was it all for? So quit.
Boy, that was
Go.
some good. That's a good woman there.
Yeah. So I got it back from Disney World, full tan in December. Went to, well, I'm already tan, but I was dark, right?
Right, right.
And I showed up at work and threw my keys on HR's table, said I quit. They was like, you're not going to even give us 2 weeks? I'd worked there 10 years. And they were like, you're going to burn this bridge. I was like, that's right. I don't want to come back.
Right.
So I've been freelance full time for 11 years since.
Wow, congratulations.
Oh, thank you. But the cool thing about that John Byrne cover, I remember the aliens I created only had 3 fingers and a thumb. And he drew the cover. I don't think he fixed it, which he had 4 fingers. And Chris was like, what do you want me to tell him? I was like, tell that bitch to take that finger off. And I was like, no, don't, I'm just joking. Don't tell him that. And he's like, no, I'm going to tell him. He's not going to do it, but I'm going to tell
Right.
I was like, I had like a heart attack. I was like, don't tell John Byrne that. Please don't tell him that.
Oh yeah. That's
He's
some
like,
great John Byrne. That dude is cool.
he's amazing. But no, the Crow was, so when I got offered the Crow, uh, I have a story with that too. I took the job. It was a weird thing. I don't know. There was like a transition and editorial in the middle of it,
Hmm.
but I didn't do my best because, like I said, I was juggling like 3 books.
Right.
And I admit that probably that book was the one that suffered. Um, but I saw James maybe 2 years after that at a show, and I hadn't met him in person, but I was drawing at Richmond. It was Richmond, and I was drawing, and I look up. I know what he looks like. He's ex-Marine,
Right.
jacket, baseball cap, and I look up in his glasses, and oh shit, it's James O'Barr, and I was like, man. And he goes, he only thing he says to me is, "You got better." But no, we've been. I love James. Like, we of course talk more after that. We tend to pick on each other,
Yeah.
um, in a kind way, not like as in like we're not serious. But he's a sweetheart of a guy. He's very gruff. If you look at him, but then when you talk to him, you realize he's not like that. Like he's a
Yeah, I would agree. I've met him a few times. He was actually buddies of a guy who ran the show in California, Steve Wyatt, and yeah, he did come off kind of gruff, but the few conversations that I've had with him were always quite pleasant. And again, it hasn't been that many, but the ones that I had, they were pretty pleasant.
yeah, he's a super nice guy. Like he doesn't look like the guy who would have written The Crow. Like if
Yeah, yeah, that's a good assumption of that. Yeah, his paintings are just wow. They're
yeah,
they're
they're
wow. They're very. I always kind of say they're very Claude Monet-esque. They have
yeah,
that rough kind of shadowy reflection type thing to them, which I really like because it's not like overly. Well, for me, it has that where you're looking at it and it's got that little blurriness to it, which kind of
yeah.
adds to that's his style.
I have a Hulk that we drew together. I was at another show, and I was drawing this Hulk on a sketch card,
Mm-hmm.
just on, not for anybody. And he looks over and he goes, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, you're doing it wrong," and he just takes it from me and walks away. I think like an hour later, he came back, and he had inked and like drew on it. And he throws it on the table. He goes, now it's fixed. Now it's better." And he signed it, and I still have it. I still have it.
Oh,
And
you got to send that picture to me. You got to send that to me.
yeah,
I want to see that.
well, I was like, "Joke's on you, man. I'm gonna put this on eBay tonight." But no, I kept it. I kept it. It is it's cool. I mean, I colored it. Well, I don't know if he. I remember he changed the eyes and he inked around some of it, and they might have
Right.
colored. But they signed it. I was like, and my name's under his name. I was like, this is really cool. It's
So,
something I see. It makes me smile.
yeah, going back and looking at your work on the Crow,
Yeah,
what would you do differently, or what would you add to what you previously did?
I'm a better storyteller now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so there's some staging I would have done differently. I wouldn't have pushed so much perspective all the time. Uh, yeah, because it kind of loses its pizzazz when you do it all the time. I
Mm-hmm.
probably would have. Um, yeah, that's probably the main thing. Other than just getting better over 10 years of drawing,
Right.
uh, I think I would have told a better story now. Um, there was there sometimes there's a little bit of flash and ego in there, and I would have taken that out.
Okay.
Um, because I mean, the thing is, like when you're a comic book artist or any storytelling um job, as in writing, editing, whatever you're doing to tell a story, story is God at that point. You got to put all your mess, your ego, the flash, all that. You've always got to consider the story first.
Right.
That is, how am I going to tell the best story? Not how am I going to get people to look at my stuff and think it's the coolest.
Right.
Uh,
That's a good point.
so I've learned that throughout the years. So pinups and stuff and covers, that's where you can just kind of just go nuts.
Yeah.
That because you're trying to draw a reader in. You're just like,
Right.
oh,
Right.
a lot of the covers don't. That stuff doesn't even happen in the comic.
Right.
Uh, it's just cool looking. It gets
Right.
you to
Right.
say, oh, hey, I might check that out.
Yeah,
Um,
like your when you're doing your commissions and you're posting your commissions, they're eye popping. I mean, I own one. I actually got one for a buddy of mine. I got to go back and figure out what it is.
I
Um, um,
remember I left it in my mailbox because I wasn't going to be home.
that's it. That's exactly it. You did
Yeah,
leave it in the mailbox. You're right. And then I drove by and picked it up. But yeah, your stuff is definitely eye popping, man. And that truly is. I mean, it's just so wonderful. But I also like the way you do your coloring. You do the lighting. It just all clicks, man.
yeah. I wish do it like this ThunderCats book. Oh, segue, right? Uh,
Segue. I was gonna go to something else, but let's go to ThunderCats. That's fine. Boy,
I'm just
ladies and gentlemen, ThunderCats is coming. Oh my gosh, and does it look
uh,
good? There is a
well,
new ThunderCats coming. I was gonna wait. You just kind of push it out there.
I, well,
Dynamite's coming out with a brand new ThunderCats book, and I am a major ThunderCats fan. And of course, Mr. Drew Moss will be doing. Uh, he will be doing. You did the concept art. You did some designs, and you'll be working on the first few issues as well.
I'll be working on the first three story arcs.
Ooh, excuse me. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'll be working on the first three story arcs.
Okay.
So that's a total of 12 issues.
Got it. So that's a years long work.
I hope if it works out well, we may do more. I mean, it's an ongoing series. Uh, I can't tell you the logistics of how the issues are going to run because
Right.
but um, man, what I've read of the story and the outline, and people are going to love it. If you're a fan of the old Thundercats, you're going to love it.
Listen,
Uh,
man, I am definitely a fan of the old
and
ThunderCats.
so am I. Like I grew up with it. Like it was my weekday afternoon, you
Hmm.
know, cool. Uh, but Declan Declan Shelby, who's the writer, great artist as well. He's doing covers and he's writing it.
Yeah,
He
he
really
does stuff for DC.
and Marvel.
Yeah,
Mar
Marvel. Yeah, yeah.
he did Moon Knight, the Mr. Knight
Moon
movie,
Knight. That's what it is. Right, right,
but he also did like Old Man Logan
right.
and stuff like that. But he's such a great artist, and he's an awesome. Like he's one. I'm not gonna say the first writer because I really clicked with Chris Ryle, Jeff Parker. I worked with him, and he's so much fun to
Yeah,
work with.
yeah, he's good.
Um, and Declan, like immediately, we were just like, boom, boom, like we just click. Like, like we were talking about art, we were talking about influences, we were talking about what we want to do with the book, and like how we want to stay like keep the fans happy, but also like delve deeper into the story that they
Right.
don't talk about. Like, what about Panthro? What
Okay,
about
I was just about to say that, my man. What about Panthro?
yeah? And he's my favorite is Tiger, but Panther is like a solid second for me, right?
Oh, this is gonna be good. Everybody, you better go out and pre-order your ThunderCats from
Yeah.
Dynamite because boy, I just your energy right here tells me how good this book is gonna be.
Oh God, and I'm gonna be doing it traditionally, like I do my commissions.
Right.
So the pencils and inks, I'm well, the pencils I'm doing digitally, but then I'm inking it traditionally. Um, so hopefully, like, cause hopefully the traditional, it just feels like there's more life in it than when you do. I usually do
Yes.
digital because it's faster and I have
Right.
to get done. But with this Thundercats book, I told Declan, I was like, man, I really wanna do something special, and he wants something special, and um, God, you just don't even know. You don't even know. Like,
Man, I want to see that. I want to see that Thunder Tank. I want to
oh,
see it rolling through. I want to see some beautiful shots of.
I can.
Ooh, I want to. I want to see the castle. I'm just so excited about this
There
book.
will be new stuff too.
There'll be what?
There'll be new stuff.
Okay,
But in the same realm. Yeah, I can't say, but you're
man.
gonna
If
be
you
like,
say there's gonna be a thunder plane, I'm gonna pass out.
well,
Cats don't fly, but I get what you're saying.
you know, and then the
So
hoverboard that the Wiley Kit and Wiley Cat have. I was big into skateboarding as a young man. I
yeah,
did it for like 12 years. Uh, it was a huge part of my life as a youth. And I told Declan, I was just like, "Hey, man, we've got to have that in there because I need to. I want to draw hovers. I want them
you
skating
got
through
to,
the
man. You gotta have it in there, and you gotta have Mum Raw looking fierce and
yes."
evil and kicking some butt.
And we delve into his history as well. So
Okay, all
it's
right,
gonna be. It's gonna be. It's not. Yeah, I mean, it's. I'm not gonna say it's more adult because there is a charm to the child nature of the show, like it being a kid show. But we bring it in for people like you and me who want to know more, like how they're feeling. Like you think getting stranded on a planet that they don't have feelings about that,
right,
like, it's not just like okay, let's just build a headquarters and let's just go on with our lives. Like
right, right.
all people died, man. Like
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
lot going
I mean
on.
that. So I guess my question is, how will you take the lovers of Thundercats like yourself and like me and yourself and other people from our generation? How do you keep the love of those people attached to the book while simultaneously bringing in new younger audiences to the book?
It's all
Because there
about.
has been a TV series, and the TV series was, it was pretty
I
decent.
like. I liked it.
I
I
did
really.
too.
I thought it was a good. I thought the stories were great.
Right.
Was it the cats? No. Like the problem with that show for me, and I'm just speaking on my behalf, is that it didn't feel grounded in the original series.
Right.
It
Again,
felt,
it was more so focused on bringing in those new people than holding true to the people like me who remember all the older stuff.
yeah. There was no. It didn't. It felt like a completely different thing. And then with Tigra and Lionel being brothers, if they had just named it Battle Tiger Cats,
Right.
I would have been totally fine. But I like the show. I watched the entire series
Yeah,
and I enjoyed it. But um, I think people would have been more welcoming if they just didn't call it ThunderCats.
right.
Uh, so we're not gonna do that.
Gotcha.
Uh, we're
Well, that's good to know.
I mean, I can tell you it starts off with them with them coming here, like in the show, like they get attacked from their ship or whatever. It mirrors the show in that aspect. Like, I guess I can say that because I mean it's not a spoiler,
Right.
uh, but it's actually not a giant part of the story.
Well,
But
hey, listen, if we're going to get more about them being stranded on the planet, if we're
yes,
going to get more deep about Panthro, more deep about how they feel about being stranded and some background history of
oh,
Mum Ra, man, I can
all,
tell you, you guys are already starting off in a positive direction.
yeah. I mean, it's not just Panther. It's like all of them, like how they're in their own heads. Um, Adapting to this new world, new leadership, like everything. The Jaga's dead. They, in the show,
Right.
like Jaga, what he dies, and they're just like, oh, he saved us though, so cool, and
Right.
they
He
just
saved us, but he's cool. But like, there's that emotional. He's gone. He's not here to lead us like he should, and that's
yeah,
a good point, man. I mean, in that first series, they really played up him in the spiritual plane and
yeah,
connecting with him. Are
yes.
you going to have those pieces in this as well, or
I
is it going to be
can't say.
before all that happens?
I can't say.
Okay, I'm
I,
sure. Okay, I'll stop asking. I'll
yeah,
stop asking.
I
So
can't
let's
say.
talk about Lionel's new sword that you told me about. No, I'm joking. I'm only joking.
He
I'm
still
only,
sort of.
I'm
It's
only
still
joking.
sort of.
So,
Um,
uh, with the Thundercats coming out, do you
yeah,
feel like you have been able to reach a level of art that's going to really not only catch the buyer's eye with the cover, but the interior is going to keep driving them in that story?
I hope so. Um, I hope so. Like I'm gonna do my best. Um, like I'm a real fan of the first Thundercat series with Ed McGuinness. Not the
Oh,
first,
yes.
but the one from the early 2000s that DC or Wildstorm or DC did. I
Right.
really like his style fits that, right?
Yeah,
Like
it 100%.
um ours won't be like I don't draw like Ed. Um I'd say we have some similarities, probably the same influences on some things, but the energy that that book brought, I
There we
hope
go.
to bring.
Got
To,
it.
okay, yeah, I hope to bring that type of energy. The whole Ed McGuinness, like he just has so much energy in his work and his lines. Not to say I'm gonna draw in his style because I can't do that. I can only draw like myself.
Right.
Um, but uh, I hope to capture some of that magic. Yeah, the Thundercats is a there's a lot of pressure, man. It's
Right.
it's it's pretty
I,
crazy.
I agree, man. It's definitely quite a bit of pressure. And so, well, but this isn't your only jump into pressure, because Gargoyles brought quite a bit of
Yeah.
pressure to you as well. So I was gonna go the other direction. Now we're gonna go your direction. So let's talk
Okay.
about Gargoyles and Greg Wiseman, who I've met quite a few times. I
Yeah.
really like his stuff. I think I have a set of those original Gargoyles cards signed. I have, of course, I have his Star Wars Kanan signed, and of course, I have a few different. Uh, he's done two different um, series of Gargoyles. I think I
Yeah.
have the last one prior to this one that was out from some other. I'm not sure which company, but how much pressure were you feeling with Gargoyles being another major fan
Um.
favorite series that was kind of like not really kid like, but it was adults got into Gargoyles.
Yeah. Um. To be honest, like I was Gargoyles missed me when I was a kid. I had just started college. Um. When that came out, now I enjoyed the animation. Like I had a friend who was like a huge Gargoyles fan, and every time I was coming over his house, he would show me, VHS, like because he recorded on his set that timer. um,
Oh boy, they will never know, will they?
no, but um, so I didn't have as much for my wife likes the series. She was like, "Oh my god!" But I did have the pressure of Gargoyles just because I knew it had a huge fan base.
Yeah.
Um, but to be honest, that fan base is really nice. Like I've never seen such a supportive fan base in my life.
Yeah.
Um, like I don't see the hate, and like to be fair, some of this ThunderCats hate is crazy.
Oh man,
Uh,
it's serious. There's some die. These are the fans that Quentin Tarantino hates.
yeah, they're just like it's gonna be garbage anyway. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna pick it up. You're like, you don't even know what it's about. Oh my god. Uh, so, but to be fair, like those people, I'm never gonna make happy.
Right.
It's never going to be the original series because that came out in 1984, 85,
Right.
86. It's now 2023.
Right.
But the Gargoyle fans are different. I've had Gargoyles fans I met at Heroes Con this year. And they like literally said, "Hey, we appreciate your work and we're just glad to have you on the book."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh my god, thank you." Like uh just so supportive.
Yeah.
Um so I never the pressure didn't I didn't feel it like that because of that. Like even before the book was out, they were just like, "We can't wait. We know you're gonna do a great job."
Right. Right. So
uh,
what were some of your highs from Gargoyles outside of the fan base and getting the accolades? What were some of your highs of doing the book?
man, I had a lot of fun drawing them. Um, they're kind of in my wheelhouse, big muscly monster things.
Right.
Um, but I don't know. I've really I mean I'm finishing the last issue right now. Um, it's kind of bittersweet. Even though I'm doing covers for Gargoyles Quest,
Right.
which starts in January. Um, excuse me. But not having a regular Gargoyle series is going to be weird because I've been doing it for the past 6, 7 months.
Right.
Um, but that's generally what I do. Like I end up on books and I do like. Luckily, I mean, I did a 12 issue run with Vampirella and Red Sonja and
Oh man,
six
slow
issues.
down. I'm getting there. That's next.
Oh, is it? Oh, but no, Gargoyles is. I don't know, and I think the fan base they buy so much artwork from me. Like if you look on my Instagram, I mean, all this Gargoyles artwork. It's not stuff I'm doing for fun. I'm being paid to do it by fans.
Right. Right.
So uh, I'm sure they're going to continue uh, getting it, and I'm going to appreciate it. And I don't know. They're just, to be honest, the top thing is the fans of the show. They are great. Um, if anybody gets the chance to draw Gargoyles, like do it because I feel like you're gonna have fans for life. You're just,
Yeah.
I mean, even some of those fans are like, I'm picking up that ThunderCats book.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
How was your connection with Greg Wiseman?
we, he's a nice guy. I would say, um, we typically don't talk too much.
Okay.
There's some projects where the editor's more the go between. We talked a little bit at the beginning, but it's not like maybe like we're kind of a generation apart too.
Gotcha.
Um, so like we didn't have that like immediate like hey dude like that weird excitement like when we first started about talking about Thundercats. I saw
Right.
your face.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's just like oh dude remember that and this
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and you just get excited. We don't have that connection. It is more like a work connection. But it was pleasant. It was pleasant. I had no hate for the guy. Um, but we didn't I don't know, it's like when you work with somebody in an office, you don't hang out with everybody. You
Right.
find
Right.
out.
But okay. So so that connection you had with Shevlin, right? That's the writer for ThunderCats.
Yeah, Shelby.
So that connection seems like it's going to bear some really tasty fruit.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I told him, I was like, you're stuck with me now. Like,
So
like we're gonna do stuff.
was your gargoyles like enough? So I mean, so let's think about this, right? And you've had the Crow,
Yeah,
you've had gargoyles, you're
yeah,
doing Thundercats,
yep,
you're moving. You prior to that, you did Vampirella Red Sonja, which we're going to get into a little bit.
yeah,
You're on some major cult classic titles, which are with a lot of history, and you're doing them
yeah.
well.
I also did the
Feel a little
mask.
arrogant at this time, man, like you can do it anything.
No, no. The thing is, all these jobs I've lucked into, like when I did the mask, the big thing with that, I got to draw Zartan and um Omega Supreme,
Right.
and I liked masking when I was a kid. Uh, I enjoyed it a lot. So, but getting to draw GI Joe and Transformer stuff was really cool. And I also got to work on with Hasbro. I've done some of their toy boxes for their Marvel Mech series, this new one that's out.
Yeah.
Um, so uh,
And those are the
yeah,
ones you sent me some pictures of.
yes, and I almost picked them up this weekend, but I was like, because I don't know, man. I've been very lucky.
And so
Um,
you did the concept art for the Marvel's Mech series, which are toys.
yeah, I did the box art.
You did the box art. Yeah. So you
So when
guys,
you buy the
those of you,
toy,
those action figure toy collectors out there, he did the box art and it's pretty dope. He actually gave me some kind of early pre-release
yeah, that was a
images.
while ago.
Yeah, that was a
Uh,
while ago. That was a while ago. We
yeah,
didn't
and
change
I
any
mean the
rules or
toys
any
just came
contract
out.
laws.
But no, I've been really lucky. Like this ThunderCats, I mean, I've got to work on Star Wars. I got to do Star Wars Adventures, which was a Jabba the Hutt story,
Yeah.
and it has Kanan's son in it. You know, um, I don't know. It was cool to watch Ahsoka and be like, "Hey, I drew that kid in that robot." Like,
I did not know you did Star Wars Adventures. That's something
oh
I haven't
yeah,
picked up yet.
yes, I did that, and
Here we are. You're so here. Let's take a quick pause. So you were at this job for 10 years. You're like, hey, I got three miniseries. I can't do them all. I'm gonna do them all. I'm gonna quit my job. And series after series, it's like it's increasing, it's increasing, it's increasing.
yeah.
What
Well,
would be your what's your advice? Because you're getting on some really good titles. What's your advice for those artists out there who still feel like I haven't quite got to the next level of what I'm trying to get to?
I don't know, man. Be nice to people. Finish your work. I don't know, to be honest. I'm very lucky.
Okay.
Um, I mean, okay, I'll give you a story on ThunderCats. How I got ThunderCats. My
Okay.
editor came to me, was like, "Have you ever drawn the ThunderCats?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course I have." He's like, "Well, send me some of those drawings." And I looked everywhere. There are no Thundercat drawings I've done.
Right.
Like, I I mean, wherever they are, I know I have, but I can't find them. So that weekend, because it was a Friday that he emailed me, I drew Lion-O on Friday night. I drew Panthro and Mumra on Saturday, and then I drew Tigra on Sunday. Um, he didn't ask me to do that.
Right.
Like, I didn't even know Thundercats was a thing, like a real comic. I
Right.
was just so excited. And I just kept sending them and sending them to him. He never said a word back. I just kept sending them. And then on Monday, he was just like, "Hey, man, um, I'm going to offer you this book, but I want to tell you that just your sheer enthusiasm is why you got this book."
Right.
Like, he's just like, "You were so enthusiastic. You were just so into it. It was like undeniable. We had to do it." Like, uh, so I don't know, man. Like, you have to do a lot of jobs that are just jobs.
Right.
Um, you got to turn down jobs that are just jobs. Um, I baffles me, to be honest. I feel like I'm the luckiest comic
Well,
person.
so here's the thing, right? You can be lucky, but you're lucky with the talent. So you're taking your talent and you're clearly getting better and better. And I think James O'Barrett, his comment of, so you got better.
Yeah.
How, what are you contributing to other than say just drawing every day to your
Um,
skill getting better?
Contributing to my getting better, it's a lot. Well, the drawing every day helps, but also like kind of putting your ego aside, um, and just like seeing the flaws, being okay with some things, and actually taking people's like. I ask people advice all the time. To this day, I still do it. And when they give it to me, some of it's constructive, some of it's not. You have to learn how to mediate that. Because okay, perfect example. If there's a guy who struggles with perspective, like drawing perspective, and that's his vice, when he looks at your work,
Right.
all he's going to see is perspective errors. He's not going to see anything else. So
Gotcha.
that's all he's going to tell you to fix. That's not constructive.
Right.
Okay. But I ask everybody, and then when I do jobs, like when I did Blighter with Jeff Parker, we did a creator-owned thing together. Um, he is a great storyteller, not just a writer, but like visual story. He's a great artist,
Yeah.
and he was giving me a lot of advice um, that helped me get better for Gargoyles. Like everybody who gives me advice, I use it, and I study on it. I look at I don't look at my contemporaries for inspiration. Well, not inspiration. I changed that. I misspoke. I do look at them for inspiration, but I don't look at them for education.
Gotcha.
I look at who influences them.
Okay.
That's where you learn.
Right.
Like it's not who's hot now. That's inspiration. Go, oh, that guy's so good. I want to be good too. But where's he influenced from?
Right.
Learn from that. Learn from the masters. You know who gave me that advice? Karan Grant.
Oh yeah, I
He
know. I
gave
know
me,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
guy is, he
His
just
stuff
says
is
what's on his heart.
dynamite.
Yes, it's amazing. But he told me that at a con. He was just like, look, Drew, he goes, I hate to say this, but F all these people. Like, who cares about them? You can learn nothing from them. He's like, everybody here. You got to learn from the masters. You got to learn from the greats. They're what going to make you better.
Right.
And the way he said it was very aggressive, kind of aggro,
Right.
but his point was solid. Like, yes, look at, and I have books of my favorites, Topi and Sargent and Rembrandt. I have Miyazaki up there. I've got
Okay.
tons of books. Those are the people and then there's people who are just personal favorites like Jamie Hewlett, which I have like right freaking here, right?
Look at that. Look at that.
Love it. And then this guy, this is my favorite comic series of all time. Unfortunately, he passed away. Uh, yes, Edvin. I can never say his name line. That's why I don't ever remember. Bukovic, when he did Grindel Tales 1 and 2.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But this art, this storytelling is amazing. Like, you want a lesson in storytelling, you look at this.
Yeah.
Like, this guy, he crushes it. Like, uh, Parlaws. Like, there's just so many people, but like, don't crush on style. That's what I think kills a lot of guys from progressing. You crutch on style, and when your style's not cool, you don't have jobs.
Right.
You crutch on fundamentals. That's a solid foundation. You can evolve to whatever you want from there.
That's a good
I
point.
was when the pandemic hit, um, all comic stuff stopped. Like, I was told to put my pencil down. We don't know when we're even going to pay you because we can't even ship comics. So how can we pay you when we're not bringing in money?
Right.
So I went 8 months without pay from comics, um, from anything. So I had to pivot, and I pivoted to movies, TV, video games, toys. I did art for card games. The video games was very cool, but that forced me to draw, just to draw. There's no style. The style is whatever they tell you to draw.
Right.
That becomes whatever you're drawing. Like you don't have a style. There's no such thing. It's we want it to look like this. Draw
Right.
this.
Right. Right.
Um, and that for 3 years, or I guess almost 3 years doing that, 2.5, um, changed me. Like now when I went back to comics, it was like, oh, this is easy. Like, and I can draw like myself. What?
Right. Because you built on what you built on that. What did you call it? Not the style, but you built on those basic
Fundamental.
technique, those fundamentals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brian Stelfreeze said that too to me.
Oh yeah,
Not
Brian
to me.
Stelfreeze is a great art teacher.
Yes, he's the best.
Yeah.
I was lucky. Another lucky thing. I was doing this con called, it was part of Heroes, but it's mini con. They do it in the winter, usually in January, the weekend before Super Bowl. And I got invited to that. And then when I showed up, they forgot I was coming. And they didn't have a table for me. So Brian had 2 tables. So he's like, he can sit with me. He'd take a table. And yeah, sitting next to him, it's just baffling how much knowledge he has.
Man, that brother's got some knowledge, and
Yes.
he loves to impart it to other people, even to the comic connoisseur and the collector. He loves
Yes.
this out.
And not only that, like his work is it's unreal. It's
Yeah.
unreal. Like watching him work is like this is an opportunity, right? Like you are now presented with an opportunity. This isn't just sitting by somebody.
Right.
It's an opportunity for your life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
To make you a better person.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta
absolutely. So going on to Vampirella Red Sonja.
Yes.
How'd you land that gig? And let's talk about some sexy women art.
Oh, the vampire. That's the thing. That book isn't really well. My favorite issue is the punk rock issue. There are some ladies making out in that. But I fell into that job. I was actually Nate Cosby, who is my editor. I love that guy. We're friends now.
Mm-hmm.
It's well beyond a work relationship. Like I'll email Nate, and I mean he's always boom right back at me. We can just BS about stuff. But Nate, at that time I didn't know Nate like that. And I emailed Nate and I was like, "Hey, do you got any like?" Because I saw he always posts on Twitter, "Hey, I have gigs, paying gigs. Tag your stuff. I'll look at it. I have paying gigs." So he did that, and I emailed him because I had his email, and I was just like, "Hey, do you have like a cover or something I could do?" Because I was struggling at the time. Because with freelance work, you can have work for 3 years and all of a sudden not have it for 18 months.
Yeah. Totally understand.
And I didn't have work it was a while. I was just surviving off commissions and like little 10-page stories here and there.
Right.
Like, so I emailed Nate and I was just like, "Hey man, do you have any covers or something?" I wasn't so ostentatious to be like, "Give me a book." But he was like, "Man, do you need work?" And I was like, "Yeah, I would love any work you could give me." He goes, "Well, I don't have any covers for you, but I can give you a book." And I was like, "Oh, I'll take that." And Jordy Belair wrote it.
Yeah.
She was amazing to work with.
Yeah, I like her stuff.
And I don't know. It's crazy because it's all ladies working on that book.
Yeah.
Except for me.
Except for you.
Except for me.
Yeah.
but it was one that, to be honest, like, there's that gender divide. Um, Not really, but there is, like, at that time, like, women didn't get work like they should be getting work.
Correct.
Um, like, people should be treated as people. And
Yeah.
I feel like Nate was one of those people who's like, yeah, you're right. But then I was like, this is weird because I'm the only guy on this book. But to be fair, they were the best to work with. These
Yeah.
ladies were wonderful, better than any guys I ever worked with at the time. Like, I mean,
What
I'm just saying, like, they were very understanding. They listened, and they also imparted like real wisdom and stuff into, like, if they had we had a disagreement about anything, like, it's like facts, not emotions.
right.
So with some guys I've worked with, like, I don't like this. They may come back with some aggression. uh, they were more like, no, we'll work on this. Like, I see your point in this, but here's my point. And you're like, that's a great point.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm changing my mind. I think you're right. And then
I agree because we were talking earlier about I want to go more on the logic, historical, teach me something side. So if you're as a team, and this is probably something that's working in your favor, right? As a team, if something doesn't work well and people realize, hey, I need to discuss this and pull it out and hash it out so it happens. We get the best product. If people are feeling they get the best product with you, then that's probably why your luck, which is also called a blessing, continues
yeah,
to happen over and over.
it does. And I was really, I mean, we did 12 issues of that, which I'm very proud of because that doesn't happen now in this comics world. Somebody doing 12 issues straight. Um, so at least that's what they told me. He's like, you should be really proud, man. I mean, who does a whole year of one book?
That you know
Uh,
what that is amazing. And I
yeah,
would agree with you because it was a big deal when Brian Michael Bendis and David Finch, and then you had Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Bagley
yeah.
do these books for year after year after year after
Oh,
year.
History and X-Men.
Yeah. And the only
Like,
person that was really matching them was Eric Larson, who just continued, and even Todd McFarlane, who just
yeah,
continued writing, working, doing art on their own independent books, right? But
yeah,
you're right, that's a big deal.
yeah.
Now
Nowadays,
you have it again or you're coming up on it again with the new ThunderCats.
yeah, yeah. Hopefully, I mean, I'll only leave when Declan leaves. To be
Right.
fair,
So
if he
how
decides that
how much
just
did you
because I
love your
love
Vampirella Red Sonja story? Is there a particular storyline that stood out, a particular issue that you
the
say,
one
everybody go get this issue because boy, that was some good work and good writing.
that was my favorite one. I think it's issue 4. The cover, it starts off at a Stooges concert. And they're singing "I Want to Be Your Dog." It
Right.
happens. It takes place in the '60s. Um, I love that issue. I put my heart into that issue. I really worked hard on that issue. Uh, I like it. I like everything about that issue. Um, I thought the art came was. I wish, like, and I don't. I should promote my sequential art more than
Mm-hmm.
my. But I do a lot of my commission work. I forget once the sequential's done. I leave it alone. I just move on.
Right.
But that book, I really like that book, and whenever I see it, it shows the sign. Oh yeah, yeah.
And
uh,
that's issue 8, but that's some beauty right there.
and there's some moments I feel like that came out really good.
Yeah.
Um,
So every time you see that issue at cons and people want you to sign it, you get a little nostalgic.
yeah, I guess I smile. I definitely tell, and I say the same thing. I'm like, this book, I really like this book. I really appreciate you buying this book. I love that whole series, man.
Yeah.
I never got the trade. I think a trade came out and I never got it. I have every issue though. I have
They
stacks.
should definitely do that bad boy in a hardcover because I'm telling you that'll be great. Like your Gargoyles, and I would definitely say your Gargoyles should definitely be in a hardcover because whoo, boy, that was
I
good.
I will say the art in that I feel like Nate caught me once. I was drawing. Well, not caught me. That's probably the wrong word, but I was drawing and I submitted a page, and he's like, which he never says. He emailed me back. He goes, "Hey man, uh, you need to spend more time on this page." And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Man, the rest of the book looks so good. I would hate for this one page to get." He's like, "I'm not saying it's bad, but the other pages are just so good. Like, it's gotta be that or better."
Right.
And I was like, "Okay, all right," And I went back to the page and I worked on it some more. I saw some stuff he was talking about, and I was like, "Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, I'll fix it, no problem." Um, the Gargoyles book is probably some of my best work.
Okay.
Um, I think. Uh, Storytelling, I really like the storytelling. I don't know. Yeah, I think it is some of my better or best work is in there.
Okay.
Some of
So
those
you guys
double.
hear it. So you guys need to go pick up that gargoyle run, because I know I'm gonna be picking some up, and I do have some books, and you and I are gonna get together to do a signing. And my goal is, to all the people that are out there watching, drop a comment, leave some advice, leave some love in the comments, and what we'll do is we'll pick some, and we'll mail a few, a signed book out, or two or three or four. See, we'll mail them out to you guys for being good listeners. So please remember to like, share, and subscribe.
But
Go ahead,
one
Drew.
one thing I have to say is that buy the floppies, buy the single issues. The fastest way to get a book canceled is to just wait for trade.
Right. I agree. I buy the single issues all the time, and I buy multiple copies of them too.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
But that's
especially when I
like,
when I go to shows and I know it's a book that I like. I mean, there's a book that I always get. One book that I always get the Savage Dragon, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
yeah,
crossover.
good.
I literally buy that book all the time, and I can find it everywhere. The dollar
Yeah.
bin, the $3, I can find it everywhere. I always buy it. But I
But
am
that's the
telling
thing.
you up front, I have gargoyles. I'm going to buy some more. I can't wait for the ThunderCats. Oh boy, am I excited! Here's the thing. I read a really the Red Sonja, which was by Mel Ruby did the art, and Michael Oming. He did
Yeah, he's great.
he did the writing. That was such a great series. That's also a book that I wrote a lot. So, do you think you put? Do you think your Red Sonja or your Vampirella Red Sonja is like, what's the word I'm looking for? Do you think it's gonna grab more Red Sonja and Vampirella readers into it? Do you think you did that?
Well, here's the odd thing. Like, um, I feel like that book would be better for new people. Like, there's you definitely, if you're a Sonya fan and a Vampirella fan, you'll see their personalities. But that's a good place for new people to get in because it doesn't have the history shoved in there of the years and years of what's happened.
Right.
But yeah, I remember once a guy told me that I didn't make them as voluptuous as because to be
Right.
honest,
Yeah.
if you saw my original, I'm not known for that. And I probably
Right.
never will be.
Right.
But if you saw my original designs, I actually covered Sonya up pretty good.
You did.
She was in fur, like the art on the cover of Sonya on the first issue.
Mm-hmm.
That's my design that I wasn't even allowed to use in the comic
Wow.
because they told me they wanted like
Because she had on
really.
pants.
Yeah, I put her in hands. And then if you look at it, she's wearing if you look at the design on issue 1, she's got like a leather tank top
Yeah.
with her bra, the chainmail bra is on top of it.
Right.
Cuz she's
It's
supposed
it's
to have.
very sim it's very similar to, I think, there was a story with Greg Rucka when he was writing Wonder Woman. They were trying to make her more sexual or sexualized, and he was more so focused in on the story and who the character is.
Yes.
That little beef. Yeah, yeah, I totally get it.
And then like, they told me to change it, to cuz she's got her look. And she has the little chainmail on the bikini, but I
Yeah,
gave her pants
right. You
on
gave her
top
pants,
under. Um,
which I always thought she should have pants anyway.
well, the story happens. She's in Siberia at the beginning
Right.
in the
And
snow.
and and in some of her series, when she's in the snow, she just has a kind of a cloak on, but even she sheds that and she's still fighting in 20-degree weather.
Yes. So
So
if you look at all the variant covers for the first issue, they're all wearing the design I drew. But if you
right,
look in the book, she's not wearing that ever.
got it. What about
Uh,
your Star Wars adventure story? That's a
that,
big that's a pretty cool gig, man, to get a Star Wars.
it was, and I bothered the editor at IDW so much to get that story. I mean, I might have bothered him for a straight year
Oh wow.
because I wanted it. I just wanted. I was like, dude, I'd email him constantly. I'm so sorry. He's not there anymore. But uh I felt so bad, but he finally, I don't know, caved in and gave me one.
Why
Um
did you want it so bad?
I just wanted to draw Star Wars. I love Star Wars.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, space samurais, or you people call them space wizards. Uh love it. Rosario Dawson did an amazing job on
Oh
Ahsoka.
my gosh, amazing. It's so funny that you said that, right? Because my daughter had a, she's in high school. She had like a little movie marathon with some of her friends and she was watching the new Barbie movie and then they went back and watched some of the past Barbie movies. And I would not, when my child was younger, I would not allow her to watch Barbies at all. And she was
Yeah.
like, I think I would have, she said, Dad, I think I would have liked some of the movies, but I want to be clear. Being raised on Star Wars was a lot better than being raised on Barbie. And that was from her mouth. And we are big Star Wars fans. And I mean, there is not a Star Wars movie, animation, whatever book that we haven't picked up, thumbed through, watched, and enjoyed.
Yeah.
Love it. But yeah, she was saying, hey, I just love Star Wars. So I totally get, why doing that book was so important.
It was, well, like if you see this,
Yeah.
um this is why I got into comics. Uh, my grandfather, who passed away in 1990, when I lived with my grandparents as a child, um, until I was almost 7.
Okay.
If my dad was stationed overseas, and my mom's, 100% Korean, she moved here in 1975, essentially a week before I was born, uh, with my father. Um, and then he was stationed somewhere. So we live with my grandparents in Charleston, West Virginia. And my grandfather was, in my mind, my father,
Right.
because I seen my father. Um, and I would watch 1969 Spider Man in reruns uh,
Yeah.
every day,
Yeah.
every day. And after dinner, my grandfather used to smoke a corncob pipe. Um, yeah, like it's one of my fondest memories, man. And I'd go on the porch with him, and then he'd ask me what happened on Spider Man, and I'd tell him for like 2.5 hours straight what
Wow.
happened. I'd make up these crazy stories. I even make up characters.
Right.
Uh, and then he'd tap his pipe out after like 2 hours, and we'd walk inside. And he goes, "Don't forget, tell me I need to know what happens on Spider Man tomorrow."
Right.
And every day I did this
So that
until I
tells
would.
me you have some stories you would like to write. Is that the next part of your career? Is
Well,
actually moving into the writing and art part of the story?
man, I don't have any confidence in right, but in 1990 when he had a brain tumor and he was on his deathbed, and I just told him because of that memory that one day I would draw Spider-Man professionally. Uh, like literally, I didn't know you could draw comics for a living,
Right.
but in my head, I was just like, for you, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to devote like my life to doing this. And when I drew that Spider-Man toy box for Hasbro, that was it. I finally did it professionally. And that was last
Right.
year. So if it wasn't for him, I'd never done comics. I don't think so. I don't think uh I don't know what I would have done. I might have been an engineer, architect, or something. Um, but I don't know. It just stuck with me. Like every page, I always think of him. Like I always think of him.
That's
Um,
good. Well, man, Drew, I have to tell you, man, this has been such a great interview. I just want to be clear. You know, there has to be a part two once Thundercats come out so we can go back and talk
oh
about
yeah,
it and break it apart.
we could go through the first issue like totally.
Absolutely. Let's do that. And you know what? I haven't done a live YouTube video, and I think that's what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll set up a live YouTube and we can actually go through the book, pick it apart, talk about it, what we like, what we don't like, you know, what art needs to be better. Maybe I'll co-write the next issue. You can talk to the report for me. But ladies and gentlemen, listen, I hope you guys learned a lot about Mr. Drew Moss. That's kind of what my whole idea of having the comic book hit list show is about. It's about bringing creators and creator stories and inspiration and advice to you guys out there who not only who you are like me, a comic book connoisseur, I just simply love the genre. And I'm also an aspiring writer. I've written a poetry book. I have a few kids' books coming out. I have some music projects coming out as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed and learned a lot from Mr. Drew Moss. Mr. Drew Moss, thank you so much for being here, part of the show. I appreciate it greatly. Let's definitely do a part two. And in the comments, listen, man, I'm going to get some books signed by him. I'm going to send them out to you free of charge. You just got to pay the postage. And let's do this, man. Tell me, what is your favorite Drew Moss issue or story or page? Put it in the comments below. I'll choose 3 people and I'll make sure they get signed Drew Moss books once I get these things signed. So again, Mr. Drew Moss, thank you very much.